Stop. Put everything down right now and stay exactly where you are. You did not find this word found you, and it found you on a specific day, for a specific reason that has nothing to do with the algorithm and everything to do with a sequence that was already in motion before you pressed play. Something in you knew to stop scrolling here. That knowing was not random. You were directed to this moment by something far more intentional than curiosity. You have been waiting, not casually waiting, the way someone waits for a table at a restaurant. You have been waiting the way a person waits who has stopped counting the days because counting became its own form of grief. You prayed, you believed, you obeyed. You watched other people's doors open while yours remained exactly as you left it. And somewhere in that long season of unanswered, you stopped expecting and started enduring. I need you to hear what I'm about to say without flinching. You stopped believing this would actually happen, didn't you? Not publicly. You still said the right things, you still showed up. But in the private interior of who you are, in the space between sleep and waking, you began to make peace with the version of yourself that waits forever. You began to call it maturity. It was not maturity. It was a slow surrender you mistook for wisdom. The silence was not what you decided it was. Every morning that nothing moved, every night that nothing changed, every unanswered prayer that fell into what felt like a void, you were reading that silence through the wrong instrument. You interpreted the absence of sound as the absence of work. But silence is not what stillness looks like when nothing is happening. Silence is precisely what a new beginning sounds like before it has been given its name. Here is what I need to plant in you before anything else. You have not been living in a failed season. You have been living past an expiration date. Those are not the same thing. A lease that has reached its term is not a condemned building. It is a building whose current occupancy has completed its purpose. The tenant does not fail the building by leaving. The building itself has been holding a different property in reserve, already furnished, already waiting. You have simply been living in the wrong unit past the date written on the agreement. And then there is Wednesday. I am not speaking about Wednesday as a concept. I am speaking about a specific coordinate, a named, precise marking already embedded in your personal timeline, already active in the spirit before this moment, already operational in a dimension you cannot yet see, but will recognize the instant you feel it. When I say that word, it is Wednesday, something in your chest either warms or aches. That response is not emotion. That response is the Spirit of God, confirming that the timestamp belongs to you. This word was not assembled for a general audience. It was prepared for you specifically and delivered to you today. You may have seen that day surface this week, in a dream, in a thought that returned without invitation, in a date that kept appearing where dates are not supposed to repeat. You called those things coincidences. They were not coincidences. They were coordinates. They were the navigation system of the divine confirming your position in a sequence you did not design and cannot derail. I need you to receive what is being placed in you right now, not as encouragement. Encouragement is what you give someone to help them feel better inside a situation that is not changing. What is being placed in you right now is a decree. The version of you that walked into this moment and the version of you that walks out of it are not the same version. That transition is already underway. If this word is already landing somewhere inside you, if something in your spirit is recognizing this before your mind has fully processed it, type new version in the comments right now, not as an interaction, as your first decree. As the moment you gave language to something that has been wordless in you for far too long. I have not yet told you the most important thing. Before I name what I am about to name, I need you to do something, not figuratively, but literally. If you are standing, sit. If you are in the middle of something, set it down completely. What is about to be spoken requires the kind of attention that cannot be divided. You are about to hear a description of your own interior life that will feel too accurate to be coincidental. That accuracy is not a trick. That accuracy is a signature. Prepare yourself for it. There are things that have been happening in you recently that you have not been able to name. You noticed them. You filed them somewhere between significant and coincidental. Told yourself you might be reading too much into it. You are not reading too much. You were reading correctly. You simply did not have the interpretive framework to know what you were reading. That framework is what I'm about to give you. Receive it with the openness of someone who already suspects it is true. The first sign is a restlessness that does not respond to rest. You have slept and woken still unsettled, not physically exhausted, but stirred in a way that sleep cannot reach. You cannot locate the source. You have tried. This is not anxiety and it is not disquiet. It is your spirit in the posture of alert readiness, the interior equivalent of a runner's body at the starting line before the signal fires. Something in you is already braced for movement. The second sign appeared in sleep. A dream, or a fragment of a dream, or a thought that arrived at the border of waking, that had the quality of instruction rather than imagination. You may not remember the full content. You may only retain a feeling, a direction, a color, or a word that was spoken inside it. What you remember is not sleep residue, it is a deposit. Something was delivered to you in that threshold hour, and you have been carrying it without knowing what it was. The third sign is repetition. Specific numbers, a specific date or a specific sequence surfacing where repetition is not normal. A timestamp on a message, the same number appearing in 3 unrelated contexts in a single afternoon. A date that kept returning in conversation without anyone directing it there. You noted it, you smiled at it or frowned at it, and then you dismissed it. You should not have dismissed it. In the architecture of divine communication, repetition is not decoration. Repetition is direction. The fourth sign is an inexplicable impulse to prepare space, to clean what was not dirty, to organize what was already settled, to clear things that had no logical reason to be cleared. You told yourself it was productivity. You told yourself it was a need for control in a season where so little felt controllable. It was neither. Your hands were obeying what your spirit already knew. Something is arriving that requires room. You were not cleaning the past. You were making space for what comes next. The fifth sign is a grief you cannot name. Not for a person, not for a specific loss, but a quiet ache for something whose departure you can feel approaching without being able to identify exactly what is leaving. You have been mourning something you have not yet released. That mourning is not weakness. It is not confusion. It is the soul's way of honoring a chapter that is closing with the dignity it deserves. You are grieving the old version before its expiration is complete. That grief means you already know. Stay with me, because what I am about to deliver will recontextualize everything you just recognized. Those 5 signs are not random internal experiences running in parallel. They are a coordinated signature, a pattern I have seen before in the lives of people who are standing at exactly the threshold you are standing at. When I name the word that governs what you are experiencing, it will not feel like new information. It will feel like something you already knew being spoken aloud for the first time. The lease metaphor I planted earlier, the property you have been living in past the end of the agreement, carries more weight than you realized. The reason the new address has not yet been handed over is not that the transaction fell apart or the key was lost. The key was being cut. A copy takes time to make, and here is what I have not yet told you. The cutting is already complete. The key exists. It has your name on it. What you are waiting for is not production. It is handover. If any one of those 5 signs landed, if you recognized yourself in even a single one of those descriptions, type Wednesday in the comments right now, not as a response, as a declaration. As the first moment you gave language to a signature that has been running in your life without a name. Let that word be the first thing you officially speak into the new frame. Something shifts when what has been nameless is finally named. The deepest truth about why this specific day was chosen for this word is still ahead. Before we arrive there, I need to ground you in something that will make what I am about to say carry the full weight it deserves. What begins on Wednesday does not operate according to the calendar system you have been using. It operates according to a different architecture of time entirely, one whose blueprint is older than your waiting, older than your delay, older than anything the enemy has tried to use against you. There is a word in the original Hebrew, a specific designation for the 4th day of creation, for the precise midpoint of the creation sequence, that has been sitting in the ancient record, waiting for this moment in your timeline. When you understand what that word actually means, not what people assume it means, but what it was architecturally designed to carry, Everything you have been waiting for will finally have its name, and you will understand for the first time why Wednesday was always the day. The word I promise to return to is Yom Revi'i. Say it slowly. Yom Revi'i. Most people who know this Hebrew phrase translate it as the fourth day, and in calendar terms, that translation is accurate. But accuracy in translation does not guarantee accuracy in meaning. The fourth day is not simply the day after the third. In the architecture of creation, Yom Revi'i is the day that governs every day that follows it. That distinction changes everything you think you know about what Wednesday means. Here is what people assume about the fourth day of creation, that God was filling in cosmological details. Light already existed from day one, the sun was simply the housing he chose for it. But that is not what the text carries. Genesis says he created the sun and moon to govern, to serve as ruling authorities over the measurement of time, the marking of seasons, the establishing of sacred appointments. He was not adding decoration to what already existed. He was installing government. He was establishing jurisdiction. He created the governing instrument before the thing being governed had fully materialized. He installed the clock before the room was furnished, before the hours had anything to measure. The instrument of measurement came before the seasons it would mark. That sequence is not incidental. It is the architectural signature of how God operates at the threshold of new beginnings. He establishes the governing structure before the evidence of what it governs is visible to anyone standing in the natural. Wednesday carries that signature. When I say it is a divine coordinate already embedded in your personal timeline, I am not speaking in impressionistic metaphor. I am speaking in the language of Yom Revi'i, the day that does not create the new thing but governs it. What is being installed in your life through this word is not a single breakthrough moment. It is a new governing structure over what is coming, over what already passed, over every unanswered prayer that preceded this day. The hinge point governs both directions. The lease I described earlier has reached its second layer. I told you the problem. You have been living past the expiration date of the old version. Now I am telling you the mechanism of the solution. A new lease does not begin on the day the tenant feels ready. It begins on the day the agreement is signed, the date written into the document before a single box is moved. Wednesday is that date. It is already written. The question is not whether it happens. The question is whether you enter it with your eyes open or your eyes closed. Now I need to take you somewhere. Not forward in history, backward into a story whose surface you may already know, but whose interior you have not yet seen through the lens of where you are standing right now. I need you to see his face before the miracle arrived, not his resurrection. His face while he was still in the tomb, while the count was still running, while everyone who loved him was standing outside weeping, because that face is your face, that count is your count. His name was Lazarus. He was not a patriarch, not a prophet, not a figure of great spiritual legacy. He was simply a man who was loved by Jesus and who died while Jesus was somewhere else and did not come. Not immediately, not in what the people at the tomb would have called time. Mary sent word. Martha sent word. The message reached him, and Jesus waited. 4 full days. By every available human framework, the window had closed before he arrived. What the disciples concluded in that silence was the only conclusion their framework offered. Jesus had missed it. They had watched him heal strangers. Surely he would not allow someone he loved to die without at least attempting to reach him in time. When he finally appeared, Martha walked out to meet him, not to welcome him, but with words that contained every unanswered prayer you have ever carried. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. She was accurate about the timing. She was wrong about the system. Because Jesus was not operating on human grief math, he was operating on Yom Revi'i timing, the architecture of the 4th day. He was not late by any system governing divine purpose. The 4 days were not the delay, they were the requirement. A resurrection on day 2 is a remarkable healing. A resurrection on day 4, when, by Jewish tradition of that era, the soul had fully departed and decomposition had begun, is something the witnesses could not argue with, minimize, or explain away. 4 days did not mean too late. 4 days meant undeniable. That is where you are right now. You have been standing outside a tomb of a season, a promise, a version of yourself you believed in, and watched go still. You counted the days. The count felt like evidence against the miracle. But I need you to hear this. The count was not against you. The count was the requirement. The length of your waiting is not the measure of God's distance from you. It is the measure of the weight of what He is preparing to raise, and of how irrefutable that resurrection will need to be. The key, I told you, was being cut. It is not a metaphor for preparation in general terms. The key is the governing authority that Yom Revi'i installs. And this authority does not only govern forward from Wednesday, it governs backward, every silence that felt like abandonment, every door that stayed closed past the point where it made sense. Wednesday does not only open what is ahead, it retroactively governs everything that came before, rewriting the story you thought you had already finished interpreting. The new version of you does not simply carry different hopes, it carries different load-bearing capacity. Blessings the old version would not have survived, the visibility, the authority, the weight of what is coming, are now calibrated to the expanded design of who you have been fired into. The blessing was not withheld as punishment, it was withheld as protection. What is arriving was too heavy for who you were. It is exactly right for who you are now. That is not consolation, that is engineering. If this word is still moving in you, if what I have said about the fourth day and the count and the requirement is landing somewhere specific, press like right now. Not for this channel. Because someone you know has been standing outside a tomb for 4 days and their math is failing them. Your act of sending this word forward is a covenant on their behalf. You are not sharing content. You are delivering the key to someone whose door it was always meant to open. The vessel metaphor returns now, and it carries something it did not carry at its first appearance. The kiln fires the clay not to harm it, to change its fundamental composition. An unfired vessel holds nothing. A fired vessel holds everything it was designed to carry. What I did not say the first time. The potter does not remove the vessel from the kiln to admire the process. The vessel is removed to be used. The firing was never the destination, it was the qualification. And Wednesday is when the kiln opens. Declare before you celebrate. When that morning arrives, the first words spoken into it establish the governing frame for everything that follows. The Spirit records first words the way a court records opening statements. They determine the jurisdiction under which everything subsequent is interpreted. Do not enter Wednesday with excitement before you enter it with a declaration spoken from authority. What you say first on that day is not a greeting to a new calendar date. It is an opening statement to a new governing season. You are the versioned one, not because of what you have accomplished, but because of what you have survived in a way that did not break you, that instead completed something that needed completing. You are the midpoint pioneer, one who begins at the hinge, where the governing instruments are installed and the seasons are first marked. You are the Lazarus carrier, one whose resurrection required the full count, and whose testimony will be impossible for any witness to minimize because of how long and how publicly the count ran. There is one detail about the Lazarus pattern I have not yet told you. It is not the resurrection. Everyone who knows the story carries the resurrection in their memory. The detail I am holding is what happened in the 4 days before the stone was rolled away. What was occurring in a dimension no one watching could see, while the count continued and the grief accumulated, and every visible sign pointed toward finished. That detail is what determines whether the new version survives its first week. The deepest truth is still ahead, and it has your name on it. The interior of what happened in those 4 days, the detail I withheld in is this. Lazarus did not know he was a demonstration. He experienced only the dying. He received no preview of his own resurrection. He simply was what he was, a man whose expiration arrived before his assignment was complete. And when Jesus spoke his name into a sealed tomb, Lazarus emerged not because he found strength, but because the name was spoken by the one who governs exactly that kind of time. Your name is about to be spoken, not the name the waiting season assigned you, not the name you gave yourself in the long years of unanswered prayer. The names being spoken now are the ones already filed in the record that governed Wednesday before Wednesday existed. These are not titles earned after performance. They are classifications already written and now being read aloud. so that when the door opens, you will recognize yourself as the one it was built for. You are the versioned one, not updated, not improved, not the same architecture running better. Versioned, meaning the previous build has been officially deprecated, and a new entity operating on different core parameters has been released into your timeline. A version is not a continuation of the old story. It is a new document under the same name, running on a different system entirely. Wednesday is the release date. What walks out of that morning is not who walked into this word. What this name authorizes is the end of explanation. You are no longer required to justify why the old version stalled, why certain doors stayed closed, why specific prayers landed in silence. Old versions are not shameful. They are necessary. They held the line while the new version was assembled, but you are past beta now. The versioned one does not return to previous builds. What was deprecated stays deprecated. You carry forward only what was intentionally ported. Nothing accidental crosses with you. You are the midpoint pioneer, the hinge person, the one who does not begin at an impressive opening or close at a celebrated ending, but who starts precisely where the pivot lives. Yom Revi'i was not the first day and not the last. It was the fourth, the center, the day governing instruments were installed before the second half of creation could begin. You are not the person who arrives at a finished thing. You are the one who begins exactly where the governing structure is established. What the midpoint pioneer carries is not the authority of arrival. It is the authority of orientation. Hinge decisions do not affect one moment. They set the angle of everything that follows. What you initiate in the first 7 days of a new version does not merely shape those 7 days. It establishes the trajectory of the entire flight path. A single degree of adjustment at launch produces a completely different landing. You are the one touching the controls at the pivot. Handle Wednesday as the hinge it is. You are the Lazarus carrier. Not simply someone who waited long enough to receive a resurrection. Someone whose resurrection required the full count because the testimony needed to be irrefutable. The length of your waiting was not negligence. It was calibration. What is arriving is not just a breakthrough. It is a resurrection so specific and so public that no witness who watched the count will be able to minimize what they see. The delay was not the obstacle. The delay was always the requirement. The Lazarus carrier does not rush the emergence. The coming out of the tomb is not performance. It is evidence. You will not need to announce what happened. People who watch the count will recognize the miracle simply by looking at you. Every year of waiting, every unanswered prayer, every closed door, all of it becomes the weight that makes the testimony undeniable. The count was not against you. The count was the exact measure of what was required. It needed to be long enough. It was. The kiln is open now. The vessel I described, the one that had to be fired before it could hold anything, this is the moment of removal from the heat. The potter does not apologize for the length of the firing. The clay does not grieve what the kiln required. The fired vessel simply receives what unfired clay could never carry. What exits this season is not what entered it. You have been changed at the level of composition, not repaired, not restored, fired. If you are still here, gently press the like, not for me, but because someone you know has been standing outside a sealed tomb running the wrong math. They have counted the days and called it too late. Your act of sending this word forward is not an interaction. It is the key being handed across a threshold. You know exactly who I am describing. What you do right now determines whether this word finds them before Wednesday, finds them unprepared. I promised I would come back to something, and I will. There is a detail I held, not about the naming, but about what comes after. What the enemy has already prepared for the morning of Wednesday and the 7 days that follow. Before you carry these 3 names into the new version, you need to understand what is already moving against you, because what I am about to describe will arrive feeling exactly like wisdom. It will not be. I promised there was something I was holding, not about the naming, but about what follows the naming. The enemy was present when those 3 names were declared over you. He heard the versioned one. He heard the midpoint pioneer. He heard the Lazarus carrier. And what is moving against you right now is not a generic spiritual opposition. It is a targeted response to a specific revelation. What I am about to describe will arrive dressed as reality. You need to recognize the costume before it knocks. The first tactic is the delay repeat. In the days immediately after Wednesday, possibly within 48 hours, something that was beginning to move will appear to stall. A door that seemed close will go quiet. A confirmation you were watching for will not arrive. Something promised will seem to take a step backward. The enemy's design is precise. Manufacture visible evidence against the word you just received, and make that evidence arrive early enough that you begin to wonder whether you misread the whole thing. It will feel like proof. It is not proof. It is the most predictable move in the adversary's playbook, the delay after the decree. Your first weapon is the written decree. Before Wednesday arrives, tonight if possible, write the word down. Date it. Sign it. Not in your phone, not in a note that disappears. On paper, in your handwriting, with the date and your name. When the delay repeat comes, take that paper out and read it aloud. What is written and then spoken carries double authority in the spirit. It was received, it was recorded, and now it is declared. The enemy cannot dispute a dated document. Let him argue with the paper. The second tactic is the old version's voice. It will not arrive as obvious doubt. It will arrive sounding exactly like wisdom, your measured maturity, your hard-won discernment. Don't get ahead of yourself. You've been disappointed before. Be realistic. These thoughts will feel native to you. They will use your vocabulary, your history, your most credible internal tone. But they carry the old version's ceiling, and the old version's ceiling was built for a capacity that no longer exists in you. Recognize this. What sounds like caution from the inside is the expired version attempting to survive past its completion date. Your second weapon is the identity declaration, spoken first thing every morning for 7 days following Wednesday, before you check your phone, before you speak about your circumstances, before you give the old voice any airtime at all. Speak the 3 names aloud. I am the versioned one. I am the midpoint pioneer. I am the Lazarus carrier. Not as an affirmation exercise, as a border declaration, establishing which voice governs the day before the alternative voice gets a single second of jurisdiction. The third tactic is the counterfeit door. The enemy is too strategic to only use discouragement. He will present an opportunity, something that looks like the breakthrough, something that carries the right vocabulary, the right timing, the right emotional resonance. But if you look closely, you will find a hidden requirement. It asks you to walk through it using the old version's capacity, the old version's compromises, the old version's identity. It is a door built for who you were. It is bait. It will feel like the answer. It is a test of whether you will re-enter a deprecated system to access something dressed up as your promise. Your third weapon is the 24-hour pause. Any major decision that arrives in the 7 days following Wednesday is held for exactly 24 hours before you respond. Not because your discernment is insufficient, because the new version deserves 24 hours to evaluate what the old version would have seized immediately. Hold the door open with your hand for a day. If what is being offered is from God, it will still be there when you return. If it vanishes when you pause, it was never a door. It was a distraction with a deadline designed to bypass the new version's discernment entirely. Stay with me, because the most important declaration in this entire word is the last one. Do not leave before it. Subscribe to this channel, not for content, but so that the next word prepared for you finds you without delay. You are in a versioning season. What is being released into your timeline is not a single revelation. It is a sequence. The next word in that sequence already exists. What you do right now determines whether it finds you prepared or finds you somewhere you never returned from after today. Align yourself before the next word is sent. The alignment is the subscription. What is coming in the prayer is not a closing ceremony. It is the legal filing. The moment where what was declared in the Spirit is sealed in your name, your time, and your authority. You have been armed. What remains is to bind what must be bound and loose what must be loosed before you carry these 3 names out of this moment and into the morning of Wednesday. Close your eyes. Place your hand over your heart right now, wherever you are. Feel it beating, not just biology, but evidence. Proof that you survived every closed door, every long silence, every morning that began without the word you were waiting for. You are still here. And here is exactly where this word was always meant to find you. That is not coincidence. That is a coordinate. That is God. Take one breath in slowly. Let it out. You are not preparing to receive something new. You are preparing to be officially handed what was completed in the Spirit before you pressed play, before this morning existed, before this season began its count. This posture is not a spiritual exercise. It is the posture of someone standing at a threshold who finally understands what is on the other side. Let your body know what your spirit is already moving through. You are released from the identity of the one who survived the waiting. You carried it with honor, the held line, the endurance, the faith that kept showing up when nothing visible confirmed it was working. That identity served its full purpose. It got you to this threshold. That is its complete accomplishment. But a survivor's identity was built for a season that is now complete, and what crosses forward cannot be encumbered by what you had to become to endure. Put it down here. It has done its work. You are released from every interpretive framework that translated silence into absence. Every morning God did not speak in the way you expected. Every prayer that seemed to land in an empty room. Every season whose only sound was the sound of your own waiting. You read that quiet as abandonment. It was acoustics. God was tuning the room before the sound could be released. That misreading no longer governs how you receive what is coming. You see correctly now. You are released from every relationship, narrative, and internal agreement calibrated for the old version's capacity. Not every connection, every ceiling, every agreement that required you to stay small, to explain your faith away, to carry the weight of who you were before the kiln. The new version does not bring those forward. What cannot cross stays at the threshold. You are not abandoning anything. You are simply not carrying what belongs to a design that has been superseded. You are released from the fear that the length of your waiting diminished what was prepared, that every year of silence subtracted from the blessing rather than calibrated it. The Lazarus pattern has answered this definitively. 4 days did not reduce the miracle. It amplified it. The longer the count, the more irrefutable the testimony. You are not receiving something smaller because you waited longer. You are receiving the version that required exactly this long to build. Fear has no legal ground here anymore. I call forward the versioned one, not repaired, not updated, versioned. A new entity released into this timeline on the coordinate already named, operating on parameters the old build could not sustain. The versioned one carries no obligation to explain what stalled before. No ceiling from a previous build applies. What could not move in the old design moves now, not because circumstances shifted, but because who is operating inside those circumstances is no longer the same entity that was waiting. The versioned one is activated. Step into your name. I call forward the midpoint pioneer, the hinge person, the one who begins precisely where governing instruments are installed and direction is set before the second half can start. What you initiate in the 7 days following Wednesday does not affect only those 7 days. It establishes the angle of the entire flight path ahead. You do not wait for confirmation before you begin. You begin, and confirmation follows. The midpoint pioneer is activated. Take your position at the hinge. I call forward the Lazarus carrier, the one whose resurrection required the full count because the testimony needed to be beyond dispute. Every witness who watched the silence run will watch what emerges from it, and nothing in their framework will explain what they see without including the God who governs exactly this kind of time. The count was not your obstacle. It was the precise requirement for an undeniable testimony. You satisfied it completely. The Lazarus carrier is activated. Come forward. Speak these 3 names aloud right now, not in your mind, but out loud, with your voice, into the room where you are sitting. I am the versioned one. I am the midpoint pioneer. I am the Lazarus carrier. Let your voice carry them. Then type, I am versioned in the comments, not as a declaration of what you hope to become, but as the first legal filing of the new entity you already are. Written, dated, witnessed. Let it stand where it cannot be unsaid. The kiln is open. I named this image when I first described the vessel that had to be fired before it could hold anything. I return to it now in full resolution. The vessel is out of the fire. Not partially, completely. The composition has been changed at the level of what the vessel fundamentally is. What is in your hands right now is not clay that survived heat. It is something built to carry what unfired clay could never hold. Wednesday is not when the firing ends. The firing ended before you arrived here. Wednesday is when the vessel is placed on the table, filled for the first time, and carried out the door into what has been waiting for it. Do not say amen yet. We are not finished. Stay with me. I place a hedge of protection around the Wednesday coordinate in your life, over the hours leading into it, over the morning of it, over the precise moment the new governing structure activates in your timeline. Let no manufactured emergency arrive before that threshold. Let no distraction present itself dressed as urgency. Let no spiritual static interrupt the signal already moving toward you. That coordinate is covered, sealed, and held. The timing embedded in your timeline before you were born will not be disturbed by anything moving against it, in the natural or the spirit. I place a covering over the first decisions of the new version, the words spoken on Wednesday morning before anything else enters, the doors evaluated in the 7 days that follow, the choices made in the inaugural week of this new governing season. Let discernment be louder than excitement in those hours. Let the 24-hour pause be honored without apology. Let what was calibrated for the old version be recognized and refused before it can be acted on. The new version does not decide from the old version's hunger. Every choice made in those 7 days is covered, and the Spirit of God will speak clearly when you need to hold and clearly when you need to move. I place a covering over your mouth, over every declaration released from this moment forward, over the words spoken into the atmosphere of what is beginning. What is declared in authority tonight does not return void. What is spoken from alignment becomes legislative in the Spirit before it becomes visible in the natural. No agreement spoken in a moment of discouragement will carry legal weight against the decrees made here. The mouth is covered. The declarations stand. We break the delay repeat before it can manufacture evidence against what was declared tonight. We break the old version's voice before it can repackage its expired sealing as wisdom in the mornings following Wednesday. We break the counterfeit door before it can present a passage that requires you to be who you were in order to access what was prepared for who you now are. Now, listen, not to me, through me. I did not forget you. I need you to hear that before anything else, not as comfort but as fact. While you were enduring what felt like silence, I was building you and building what was prepared for you at the same time, in parallel, in calibration, so that when they met, neither one would destroy the other. What took so long was not neglect. It was precision. You and the thing prepared for you were always one project. You named the silence abandonment. I understand why. It was the only word the instruments of your season gave you to read, but I was never absent. I was working in frequencies you were not yet equipped to receive. I was tuning the room. A room must be acoustically prepared before the sound can be released into it properly. Release it too early, and it distorts, echoes wrong, lands as noise instead of word. I was not withholding the sound. I was preparing the room to carry it without loss. Wednesday is not a gift I am handing you. Wednesday is a door I am opening. And what is on the other side of it has been waiting there since before your name was spoken into the earth. I placed it there before you had the capacity to want it, before you knew how to pray for it, before the version of you that could carry it existed. I was not responding to your faith. I was fulfilling a design. Your faith brought you to the threshold. I built the threshold before you were born. The old version of you was never a mistake. Set down that grief. The person who kept showing up when nothing confirmed the effort was working, who chose faith in the hollow spaces between the answers, that person was not a failed draft. That person was a necessary chapter. Chapters close. Closed is not failed. It is complete. You have my permission, fully, without condition, without the need to earn it, to set that version down. It did everything it was designed to do. Honoring it means completing it. So let it be complete. Now walk forward, into the name, into the assignment that was always prepared, for exactly this version of you, standing at exactly this threshold. You will not need a label to recognize what is yours. It will fit in a way that nothing in the old season fit, not because the weight will be light, but because the load-bearing capacity has finally been matched to the load. I built you for this. I measured you against this. Walk into what I made you to be. You will recognize it the instant it is in your hands. It fits. Return to your own breath, to the room where you are sitting or standing with these three names already written into your identity, these three governing structures already active in your timeline. Receive these words with everything you are. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Let it be spoken again, not as repetition, but as ratification, as the moment a covenant crosses from provisional into irrevocable, as the legal filing that cannot be undone by what the next 7 mornings carry, by what attempts to come against you, by what the old voice attempts to whisper in the hours before Wednesday. You are committed, you are commissioned, you are sent. One final time, let it land with the weight it was always carrying. Let your body receive what your spirit already signed. Let these words reach the version that is walking out of this moment, different at the level of architecture from the one who walked in. You are committed, you are commissioned, you are sent. Do not say amen yet. Sit in this. Let the weight of what was declared settle into the bones of who you are now. Let the new governing structure complete its installation in the silence. Let Wednesday feel different in your chest, not as a day approaching on a calendar, but as a door already open, already holding everything placed there before you were born, already waiting for the version of you that was always meant to walk through it. Now you may say amen. There is someone on your mind right now, not a list. One specific person whose face surfaced while these words were being spoken. Someone whose faith is still standing, but whose hands are getting tired. Someone who has been enduring so long they have stopped using the word expecting. Someone who needs this word before Wednesday arrives without them understanding what it carries. You know exactly who I am describing. Send this to them today, or not tomorrow, not when you find a better moment. Today, what you just received is not only yours, it was also the key that belongs to them. You are the messenger now. Sit here one more moment, not to do anything, only to be what you now are. A person who has been versioned, who carries 3 names no silence can revoke, who holds a coordinate already active in the spirit, who cannot return to the version that walked into this word, because that version is complete, honored, and finished. What walks out of this moment is different at the level of composition, not repaired, not restored, not encouraged into a better posture, new. What begins on Wednesday is already in motion. You were made for the weight of it. You were always the one it was being built for.